Yo, it's your boy Casual Real with The Silent, a podcast. And man, we're back with another one. And a quick one at that. Hit that like button, it's free. And more importantly, continue to subscribe, man. Appreciate that love for this. Let's get straight into it. They say the pay-per-view is dead, or better yet, I should say Turki Alalshikh has come out with his statement. If you haven't heard yet, he says the pay-per-view model is dead come November 2025. Now, obviously, he's speaking on the behalf of Ring Magazine, Riyadh Season, and DAZN. The pay-per-view model no longer exists for his companies and his brands that he's been pushing. And I say this. Salute to Turki Alalshikh, because that man has taken on the battle of bringing boxing back, making boxing great again, right? And he has done a hell of a job, a great job at pushing the sport, pushing the needle, and getting our fighters and our brand of boxing to grow and come back into the mainstream. We still got a lot of work to do, but he has definitely pushed and challenged the sport to become back to its greatness and continue to grow as a sport. And now we're looking at, obviously, the business aspect. So the pay-per-view model, pay-per-view is dead. First things first, November 2025, if this is true, we head to that no more pay-per-view, then I think that will further push the needle, further push the brand of boxing and get more eyeballs on the sport. But then there's facts and then there's fiction and mixing a little bit of fairy tales. We want to continue to grow the sport of boxing, right? And as obviously said, Turki Alalshikh said no more pay-per-view models. But the one thing the boxing fans still haven't got away from is we still pay for boxing. In his case, DAZN, we pay for that subscription. Depending on what you got in that, it could be a hefty little fee. It's still coming out of our pocket, if you get what I'm saying. We're still paying for that subscription, but you know what? We're in a subscription-based environment, so I can rock with it. Let's follow that. If we're no longer going to do the pay-per-view models, then a few things have to happen for the business of boxing to continue to grow and get into the eyeballs of the casual consumer. If there's going to be no more pay-per-view, then in order to pay the fighters what you've been paying them, or at least somewhere close to, I think some of those big paydays are going to go away. We're going to hit that in a second. We've got to get the advertisement up, right? So I expect, as a boxing fan and with my subscription, if you're going to do no more pay-per-views, a few things are going to happen. Either you're going to start docking the fighter pay. You're not going to be paying them these big purses. And some of them have been grossly overpaid, but that's your bread, that's your money. You're going to start docking the fighter pay, and it's going to come down. We're going to start seeing somewhat of a UFC model. We've already started heading there, right? We've got Dana White coming back into the sport, or coming into the sport, I should say, for the first time, getting back into a combat sport, period, in a combat business. We know how he notoriously paid UFC fighters over there. I don't think boxers will ever get that low as what the UFC fighters were getting, but I can definitely see the pay coming down if we're no longer going to do these pay-per-views, especially for the big name fighters. If you are going to keep the pay somewhat the same, then what I just said earlier has to be true. You have to get more advertisements to make this work, to get more dollars flowing into the sport. Just like the NBA, just like the NFL, just like soccer. Hell, even NASCAR, F1. Advertisements and make, the sport grow. Yeah, it's the arenas getting filled out. That never changed. I think boxing fills out its arenas just fine. It will grow even more if we get more casuals to see the sport. But as far as television, you got to have that advertisement dollar there to keep pushing the brand and bringing in more eyeballs to that sport. Yes, you got the subscription base that you got from DAZN, but to really help it grow, we got to go to bigger platforms like Netflix. Maybe get on free TV. And as we hit that point, a lot of this sounds familiar. Haymon, PBC brand, tried this before, tried to push the brand of boxing to what? Free for all fans. And they pulled it off for a little while. We had Fox, ABC, what's that other one? Peacock, a few others. They were throwing around a lot of different deals and advertisement dollars. But what happened was the business of boxing was struggling because they couldn't get the right advertisement. They couldn't get the right fights on the free networks. They couldn't get the right fighters to sign up for some of those free fights because they didn't have the dollars to back behind it. And then eventually we are where we are now, back to pay-per-view brand for PBC. If Turkey wants to really pull this off, he's got to hit that advertisement first. He's got to get some good sponsors. I know he's got deep pockets and deep backing, but you don't want to keep funding this whole thing the entire time. We got to get the advertisements in. If it's going to be no more pay-per-view, brother, it's all good, fine, and dandy. But being a realist and seeing what I've seen before from the likes of PBC trying this and Al Haymon trying this before, the realization sets in that that's going to be tough, especially for the big names and big fights. I love it as a fight fan. Selfishly, I don't want to pay for no more pay-per-views. It's killing the sport. It's killing the brand and can't get more people to watch it. Already don't want to pay for the subscription, but then you tack on a pay-per-view, $80 to $100 on top of that. Boxing is not for the casual really anymore. Yeah, some of the big name fights, big pay-per-views, they'll do that once, but to casually just come in and watch the sport, I'm not about to keep paying a subscription fee. They're not going to keep paying a pay-per-view to watch the sport. You'll get them for a one-off and that's it, and that doesn't help grow the brand. So I'm all for it if Turki Alalshikh really can pull this off. No pay-per-view, and if any man can do it at this time, he's proven he can do a lot of things, and I'm all behind that. But let's be real, how you get there, you got to have the advertisement dollars. That's if you're going to keep the fighter pay the same. If not, you're going to ride on that subscription base. It is what it is. Certain fighters won't take certain fights anymore, probably. But then again, that might be a culture shift and get some of these guys to start getting out of the sport, moving out of the way, and let the real men fight up and stand up. That's the way I see it going. I don't see him pulling this off unless we get advertisement dollars. I can't say it enough. Hopefully we don't dock the fighter pay because these guys do deserve what they get. I think some were grossly overpaid. But all in all, I do not want to see a UFC style of pay for these fighters. These guys are brands, they're promoters on their own. And plus, there's no monopoly here either. Got plenty of other promoters out here doing their thing. And that gets to my last point. Yeah, it's no more pay-per-view November 2025. And that's only for Riyadh season. Ring Magazine. He said that clear in his statement. Riyadh season and Ring Magazine specifically. That has nothing to do with the other brands. Queensberry, Top Ranks out there, PBC's out there, you name it, Eddie Hearn's brands, all these other promoters, they can still do pay-per-views, and I bet they will continue to do pay-per-views to fund certain fighters, especially the bigger names. But hopefully this push will get these other brands, these other guys out of the way to start coming back to free TV, free pay-per-view, at least sticking to the base subscription of DAZN, Netflix, Amazon Prime. We'll see how this goes. I'm excited to see it, but you got to be real at the same time. This challenge from Turki Alalshikh is great, but let's make sure we keep pushing it and handle the business correctly so we only run out of this too quick. Learn from what PBC did. They tried it, burnt out quick, straight back to pay-per-view. Let's make sure we learn those lessons, get the right advertisements, get the right sponsors backing these fighters to continue to grow the business of boxing so we don't have to depend on pay-per-view. Anyway, man, we talk way too long on this. Hit that comment section, hit that like button, and more importantly, continue to subscribe, man. Appreciate that. Love until the next time. Peace.